Hello, this is Tom. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to start off showing some images from a script that I talked about in the last video that I did. This is on, uh, these images are Santorini, Greece. And we have a mixture of photographic images with art images. Also, actually, there's 4 types of images here. So one type is cinematographic. Another is photographic. Then there's art, like painting type images. And then designer is the 4th type of image. So this one is a designer type image. It's a map. This is a painter, like a Van Gogh style. This is photographic. This looks cinematographic to me. And this might be a design. I'd have to look at the actual prompts for sure. Another odd one. This is a Monet style. And then either this looks maybe cinematographic as well, as does this. I'm not sure. We can take a look at the prompts. Okay, so I wanted to show how to actually, what this is actually a blog post. So I'll show the blog post. And I think this is pretty neat, the way that this works. So I'm using just a Google Blogger software, which is free. And a cool thing about it is if you go to the blog post, it has an image, you click on read more, and then you click on the image, it will present it like a slideshow. So you can just go through the images like that. So I have a lot of blogs like this, which I think is a fun way of seeing the images. You can see them, they're, nice and big. And whereas if you look at them, let's compare it to making at Midjourney. So I'm going to go to the Midjourney website. And I guess it's kind of similar. These are nice this way too. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to go to my images. Okay, so these are the ones that we were just looking at. And an advantage, I guess, looking at it this way is you can see the prompts. If I go back to the blog post, I like that it has a darker, it looks darker, the background. So the image kind of, stands out a bit more. But doing it this way, you don't see the prompts. But what I could do is I can go to the blog itself and then, read it as a blog. And then you can see the prompts. Okay, so actually, I'd say it's probably easier to see the prompts this way from the Midjourney. So here, it says it's an inspired map of Paula Scher. So that's a designer type image. Then here we have Richard Avedon style fashion type image. And again, the theme was Santorini, Van Gogh style painting, a George Stevens style scene, and a Vignelli inspired travel poster. Okay, that's what this one is. All right. And here we have a Monet style painting, and Leibovitz. All right, Leibovitz photo, and Stanley Kubrick. Okay, so those were the ones that it picked. And let's see, I'll go ahead and bring myself back to life. I was hiding myself because I didn't want to be blocking the images, but what I wanted to do in this video is show how I used the script to make the blog post. So the idea of the blog post was, I'll just show the blog post. I'm not sure if it's easier to read from the blog post. Yeah, this looks fine. Okay, so this is the blog post. And it says, Exploring Santorini Through the Lens of Art Design, a Midjourney Prompt Exploration. And ChatGPT wrote the blog post. Okay. And so I told it that I wanted the theme to be Santorini, Greece, in which it actually suggested. I asked it for a number of suggestions, and this was one of them. I thought it sounded interesting because it's not a place that I'm familiar with. And I asked it to create the blog post and to share its thought processes for each of the prompts that it chose. So it talks about the thought process for the prompt. It gives the prompt that it chose, and then we have the image for the prompt, and so on. So there's 8 of these, and it has a combination of cinematographic, art, photographic, and designer prompts. Okay, and then in a previous video, I spoke about using a catalog approach. So I think I won't go into detail about that here since I already talked about it. But the basic concept is that the catalog has 4 different types of catalogs, one for the 4 types that I mentioned, and each of them has 100 artists or directors. So there's 100 directors for the cinematographic ones, 100 photographers, 100 painters for the artist ones, and 100 designers. And the designers have different types of design, like graphic design, interior design, and so forth. Okay, so it basically grabs from that, ChatGPT does, from that collection and chooses a number of those in order to make the blog post. Okay, so I had a lot of trouble getting the blog post to work, getting it. What would happen would be that it would not write the prompts correctly. And I say correctly, I mean, they were still okay prompts, but it wasn't the way that I wanted. So I wanted the prompts to be in a certain structure, and it kept varying from that structure. And I was sort of beating my head against the wall because I've come across this before, and I sort of knew how to make it work, but I was like not wanting to have it work the way that it actually works. So let me explain what I mean by that. So what I was trying to get it to do was have it to work out of the box through the script that I wrote. So the script that I wrote is this one. ChatGPT Instructions for Multiple Catalog for Midjourney 6.0. And the problem that would happen would be I would say, I would start a session, I would say, welcome to the session, and, talk about give an introduction to the process, which I, instructed it to do. And then I would say, okay, I'd like you to write out a blog post with 8 prompts based on this theme. And when I would do that, here's the instructions that I had. Okay, it says write a blog post from me as follows. Write an introduction, explain your thought process for the prompt, write out the prompt, write place image here as a placeholder for me to put in the images after I've created them in Midjourney by running the prompts you did. Okay, so the problem that I kept running into is it wouldn't write the prompts correctly. And so what I did differently here, which is what I wanted to share, this technique, was I had to write out the prompts first. And so when I wrote out the prompts, and then I said, okay, using these prompts that you wrote out, then it worked perfectly. It just grabbed the prompts that it wrote out and put them in the blog post. But if I didn't have them write that out, if I just said, for example, instead of using the prompts you wrote out, if I said, write a blog post for me as follows, and I said, choose 8 prompts, the same ones that it did here. I just said the same thing. Like I said, I'd like 8 prompts featuring Santorini, Greece. So if I said, choose 8 prompts featuring Santorini, Greece, as the, say, step 0, and then the rest of this is the same, write an introduction, blah, 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 the prompts that it would write out would not be correct. And I fought against that for quite a while until I have a vague idea of why it doesn't do it correctly, um, which I think has to do with that. Right? It does everything on the basis of patterns in its context window, and so basically, it was just at the present state of ChatGPT 4, which is amazing. It's still a bit too much for it to handle. That I mean, using an analogy, it's not really accurate, but it's just too much for it to hold in its head. So it sort of forgets. To state it more accurately, the context window sort of gets pushed back because when I tell it to write out the prompts and then have it write the blog post, then the writing of the prompts is kind of pushed back. Anyway, the whole thing is sort of complicated the way that it actually works. But the workaround is if you break the complicated task into steps and have it do each of the steps, then it's a lot better at doing that than if you try to get a whole long list of stuff to do, and it doesn't have the opportunity to break up the tasks and do them separately. So here, like by having it write it out, then it worked perfectly. Okay, so that was the main part. Well, there's 2 main parts I wanted to show. So one was to explain that in terms of using the script, and then another is to show the images. So I showed the images for Santorini, Greece, but I also did some of Rio that I thought were really nice. So I did another collection for Rio de Janeiro, the same sort of thing, 8 prompts. So this one is designer type 1. So is this. I thought these were gorgeous. Then this is, I think, Botanical Gardens. Yeah, it's just a Claude Monet inspired. This was probably my favorite. This is Van Gogh, and look at the colors, and I really like the way that it represented the light, from the sky reflecting in the water. And then I like this picture too. This is a photograph, and this looks like, looks Brazilian, and then looks like you can see tourists in the background. And then here we got an older style from looks like Copacabana maybe. Beach scene in Rio. You got Pão de Açúcar in the background, and pretty nice image there. And then here you got a samba one, very colorful. And okay, then it goes back. It goes to another one. So anyway, those are some ideas on how to use the script. The basic idea is that if you want to get a collection of images for some theme that you want to put together, to break down the task and have it write out the prompts first, and then execute them in Midjourney, then you can put them together. Then that is a technique that'll work nicely. And I wanted to mention that I'll put the URL for the blog in the description for the video, and you can look through the blog. I'll put some other of these blog posts featuring different locations. And I think, again, a nice way, if you're just interested in seeing the pictures, then again, just click on the read more, click on an image, and you get a nice slideshow. I think that's a nice way of seeing the images. Well, thanks for watching, and until next time.